You cannot sit on your own porch after 6 in the evening anymore. You tried the citronella candles. They smell nice for about 20 minutes, and then you cannot tell if they are doing anything at all. You tried the spray that you put on your skin, the one with the warning label about not letting it touch synthetic fabric. You tried the plug-in zapper that electrocutes the occasional moth but ignores the actual mosquitoes circling your ankles. You spent close to $80 this year on mosquito control, and you are still getting bitten in your own backyard. The mosquito repellent industry in North America is worth $1.3 billion a year. And the dirty secret of that entire industry is this. Most of what they sell you does not actually kill mosquitoes. It masks your scent for a short window, or it creates a small zone of mild deterrence. The mosquitoes are still there, they are still breeding, they are still coming back tomorrow night, and the night after, for as long as you keep buying the next can. Depression-era families did not have $80 to spend on mosquito control. They had no synthetic repellent, no plug-in devices, no aerosol cans. And they lived in conditions far more exposed to mosquitoes than you do. No window screens in many rural homes until well into the 1930s. No air conditioning. Evenings spent outside on porches because the house held the day's heat. If mosquitoes had been an unsolvable problem, those summers would have been unbearable. They were not. Because there was a method that did not repel mosquitoes. It killed them. At the source. Before they ever became a flying, biting adult. I found this documented in a 1936 agricultural extension bulletin from the state of Louisiana, a state that has dealt with mosquito-borne illness longer and more seriously than almost anywhere else in the country. The bulletin was titled Mosquito Control for the Rural Home and was distributed to farm families during a period when malaria and yellow fever still active concerns in the American South. This was not a cosmetic nuisance issue for these families. Mosquito control was a matter of disease prevention, and the methods in that bulletin had to actually work. The bulletin identified the single highest leverage intervention available to any household. Standing water elimination, combined with a targeted larvicide treatment, using a substance every household already had. Not a spray for adult mosquitoes flying around your yard. A treatment for the water where mosquito eggs become larvae, become adult mosquitoes. Kill them there. And you are not fighting an endless supply of new mosquitoes every week. You are shutting down the factory. Here is the biology, because understanding it is the difference between a treatment that works for a few hours and one that ends the problem at the source. A female mosquito lays 100 to 300 eggs at a time, always in standing water. A bird bath, a clogged gutter, a forgotten bucket, a low spot in your yard that holds water after rain, even a bottle cap. Those eggs hatch into larvae within 48 hours. The larvae live in the water for 4 to 14 days, depending on temperature, breathing through tubes that break the surface of the water. Then they become adults and fly away to breed again. One single source of standing water in your yard can produce hundreds of new mosquitoes every single week of summer. This is why spraying for adult mosquitoes never solves the problem. You are killing the ones flying around tonight while a bucket of water in your side yard is producing 300 more for tomorrow night. The 1936 bulletin understood this. The solution it documented attacks the larvae stage, in the water, before a single mosquito ever takes flight. The substance is food-grade diatomaceous earth, combined with a thin layer of common household oil, applied directly to standing water that cannot be drained, a rain barrel, a livestock trough, a decorative pond. But the primary substance documented for the most common household application, bird baths, plant saucers, any small standing water, is something even simpler and something you almost certainly already have: vegetable oil. A single tablespoon of vegetable oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, any cooking oil you have in your kitchen, poured across the surface of standing water creates a thin film. That film does two things simultaneously. It prevents mosquito larvae from breaking the surface to breathe, suffocating any larvae already present within hours, and it prevents adult female mosquitoes from being able to land on the water surface to lay new eggs, because the oily surface tension cannot support her weight the way clean water does. 1 tablespoon, 1 application. Effective for 1 to 2 weeks before it needs reapplying. This costs you nothing if you cook with oil, which almost every household does. It is completely safe for the birds that use a bird bath, for any pets that drink from outdoor water sources, and critically, this is the detail that matters most for anyone with a vegetable garden. It is harmless to honeybees and other pollinators, because bees do not breed in standing water, and are not exposed to the larvicide layer unless they directly land on treated water, which a thin oil film actively discourages rather than invites. Compare that to the synthetic larvicides and adult mosquito fogging treatments sold commercially today, several of which carry explicit label warnings about toxicity to bees and aquatic life. You are currently being sold a product that may be actively harming the pollinators your vegetable garden depends on, to solve a problem that a tablespoon of cooking oil solves without that risk. The second half of the Depression-era method, and the part that actually eliminates the problem rather than just managing it, is source reduction. Walking your property once a week during mosquito season and eliminating every place water can collect. This sounds almost too simple to be the foundation of a real pest control strategy. But the 1936 bulletin was explicit that source reduction was the single most effective action any household could take, more effective than any treatment applied after the fact. Here is the weekly walk Depression-era families did, and that you can do in under 15 minutes. Empty and refill bird baths every 3 to 4 days. Refreshing the water disrupts the larval cycle before it completes. Check gutters for clogs that hold water after rain. A clogged gutter is one of the most common mosquito breeding sites on any property, and almost nobody checks it. Turn over any empty buckets, flower pots, or containers stored outside so they cannot collect rainwater. Check the sources under potted plants. These tiny amounts of standing water are exactly the volume a mosquito needs to breed, and are almost always overlooked. Fill in low spots in your yard, where water pools after rain, with soil so the water drains instead of sitting. And check children's toys left outside. A small inflatable pool toy, or an overturned bucket, can hold breeding water for weeks without anyone noticing. My grandmother kept a mosquito log in the same recipe box where she kept her garden notes, a habit that seems excessive until you realize how seriously families in mosquito-heavy regions took this in the 1930s. Her note read, "Walk the yard every Sunday before church. Empty what holds water. Oil what you cannot empty." We never had the fever in this house. The fever she was referring to was malaria, which was still present in parts of the rural South into the 1940s. For her family, mosquito control was not a comfort issue. It was a survival habit, practiced with the same seriousness as anything else that kept the family alive. There is one more piece, specific to evening porch sitting, that the bulletin documented and that Depression-era families used constantly because porches were the center of evening family life with no air conditioning to retreat indoors to. A small fire or smoke source. Citronella did exist in some regions, but more commonly, families burned dried rosemary, sage, or other aromatic herbs in a small metal container, set a few feet away from where people were sitting. The smoke itself, not the herb specifically, is what disrupts a mosquito's ability to detect carbon dioxide and body heat, the two signals it uses to locate a person to bite. A small smouldering fire of dried garden herbs on a porch is more effective at keeping mosquitoes away from people sitting nearby than most commercial candles sold today, because it is producing actual smoke rather than a scent that competes weakly with your own scent. This is the complete method. Oil on standing water you cannot empty. A weekly walk to eliminate water you can empty. Smoke from dried herbs for the porch in the evening. Total cost: the oil you already have in your kitchen, 15 minutes a week, and whatever herbs you are already growing or can dry from a grocery store bunch. Compare that to $80 a year in sprays, candles, and plug-in devices that mask the problem without solving it. The mosquito repellent industry depends on you treating the symptom every single evening for the rest of the summer. The Depression-era method ends the breeding cycle at the source, so there are fewer mosquitoes to repel in the first place. If you want the full original bulletin breakdown, including the specific oil-to-water ratios for larger standing water sources like rain barrels and livestock troughs, subscribe. We verify every method against the original historical documents and put out a new video every single day. And if someone you know is still buying candles every summer and still getting bitten on their own porch, send them this. The mosquitoes were never the unsolvable problem they have been sold to you as.